Hello and welcome to the Leadership Lab, the podcast where we dissect life science success stories. I'm your host, Morris, and I'm thrilled to bring you conversations with industry visionaries in the life science space who will discuss their successes, failures, challenges, and also the leaders who inspired them. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Leadership Lab. I'm your host, Morris, and today I'm really excited. This is going to be a super cool conversation, I hope. Today I'm here with Daniela Marino. She's the co-founder and CEO of Cutiss, based right here in Zurich, and I'm not even going to get into what they do. It's just super cool and really exciting, but what I will say is that they are the only ones in the world who are currently doing what they do in the techbio space. So not the biotech space, although the kind of lines are blurred. And I really want to get into exactly what the technology is and how it's going to help people. But usually, as we like to get into things first, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we were just discussing it before. We have Franci in studio too, who's Italian as well, but you're Italian. Where are you from exactly?
I come from Agrigento, which is in the deep south of Sicily. So cannot get more south than that.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
And what was it like growing up there?
It was a lot of sun, a lot of food, a lot of beach time. And I left Sicily when I turned 18 because I went to Milano to study biotech. So I was in Sicily officially 18 years of my life.
Okay. And just out of interest, what's that childhood like? You're outside a lot? You're just running around the beach? It sounds amazing. I don't know. Most people leave Europe to go there, and you were like, no, let's.
That's
I know it's Europe, but let's just say most people are holidaying from the worst weather, let's say.
Yeah, that's true.
To go down to Sicily.
Look, I had a wonderful childhood. We were always outside. It was never really raining. I actually grew up with my mom coming to my bed and say, "Sleep longer. You don't go to school. It's raining." Because when it was raining, it was like a big thing, and the streets were wet, and people would just stay home because it was not worth going out.
Really?
Yes.
Like my childhood was like it had to snow up to your chin, and then they'd be like, "Okay, I guess we can't go anywhere."
It's dangerous, you don't drive when it's raining. So that was the best part.
Really?
And it was very nice weather all the time, and we didn't have money to travel, so we were actually happy with just going close by to the beach, and the food was always amazing. I was eating like there was no tomorrow, and it was a community, so that we had like the entire street, and even beyond that, we knew everybody. It's very different than now. So it was not just me and my parents living in a flat. We had a huge community. We were always together. We were always making big dinners and big lunches and big parties, and that's the Sicilian spirit. Like everybody can come in anytime. They just ring the bell, come up, and somebody will cook, and we just have a dinner together, right? And that kind of cultural background, I think it's good.
Yeah.
Also, when you start a company, because it gives you that, kind of mindset that you can actually ask and talk and knock at anybody's door. I think that helps in a way. And it's an interesting cultural heritage. And I think it comes from the fact that Sicily was invaded by, I think, anybody around.
Yeah.
And we kind of embraced all these different cultures. And again, another good point when you build a company, embracing the most cultures you can actually helps innovation. Yeah. So these are two little components which I think I carried on my little bag, when coming out of Sicily to the rest of the world.
And just out of interest, privately as well, are you the same? Switzerland's not necessarily, hey, knock on my door and come upstairs and I'll cook for you. It's,
I know. It's a bit different. It's good that I did study in Milano, so I kind of had to cool off my Sicilianity, because in Milano it's more close to Zurich, in that sense. But I have to say, we are still the big hosts. I'm still the one in my group which organizes all the parties and all the dinners and all the escapes, and we have a big community of friends now in Switzerland, which is multicultural and multinational. So I don't suffer like the more strict way of the Swiss way of organizing things 6 months in advance. So we can still be ourselves.
What were you like as a kid? When you were outside running around, big community, but what were your interests? What did you enjoy?
It's a funny thing you ask because when I was 6.5 actually, my grandmother died. And I don't have a lot of memories of her, if not her serving me food all the time without my parents looking at her because I was pretty chubby when I was a child. But she just kept feeding me and I kept eating, so it was fine. But then she died and my father said, let's go to her house and let's go get a memory of her before they clean up everything. So we went to her house and we went to her bedroom and I opened her night table. And I opened her night table and I found an anatomy book and an astronomy book. And I was like, wow, my grandma is cool. So I took these two books and I took them home as my only memory of my grandma.
Wow. Okay.
And I was 6.5, almost 7. And I started reading her anatomy book, which was black and white, like it was super, super old. And that was exactly the moment where I decided I want to be a scientist. So it really turned my brain into like a very strong direction. And so since the beginning of what I can remember, because I don't have much memory of when I was 5 or 4,
Right.
I basically was fascinated by science. Like I kept reading or even what I was reading, like books, it was all about science fiction and different things. So that was my passion already when I was very, very young.
Why not astronomy?
Well, I actually started with that too, and it's still my passion. So Cutiss actually did a space launch 1.5 years ago because of that passion of mine.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
it's not that yet, but I cannot do it all. I cannot be an astronomer and a biotechnologist at the same time. Maybe once I finish the adventure with Cutiss one day, I'll go for some quantum physics stuff.
Right?
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty cool.
I mean, I'm a toxicologist by background, but my flirtation was always like I took life on other worlds in university and like studied physics. And now when my family's in bed, I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on in the world of quantum.
Me too.
Physics. And I'm like looking and I'm like,
we should hang out together. I do the same.
And reality and how we perceive and is it real or not real? And yeah, it's
really fascinating.
But maybe we take that offline. I don't know if everybody out there really wants to hear about our obsession with quantum physics, but actually, yeah. Okay, so got the anatomy book. Did that change your approach in school? Was it, okay, I'm just going to gravitate towards all these things and forget the rest, or were you a good student?
I was always a little bit of a streber or a nerd, Yeah, I was already good at school, at primary school. I mean, I always loved reading and studying, and I was always very quick at finishing my homework and actually helping other classmates to do their own. So I always had people coming in my house and getting help, and so I always loved studying, and I took the direction of science. I did, a specific school for science when I was in the GIMI or the gymnasium, and the decision to do biotech was immediate. I mean, there was no discussion. So, but I was good at all different things, including English, which is fun enough because my mom is a teacher of English. So I started reading in English when I was very little. My mom forced me with this English, which I hated at the beginning. It's like,
really?
Why on earth would I study English now? I'm 5. And
bet
now
you're
I'm
happy
so
now.
grateful, because okay, I can talk. I like that.
Well, it's important when you got to raise that money. Talking is an important thing, and leading people. And I think it's not granted coming from Sicily that you're going to speak English as well as you do.
Yeah, it's true. And I really have to honor that to my parents. So the first thing they did was to send me to like a school camp in Ireland when I was 13. And that's really open-minded, right?
Where did you go?
In Limerick.
Okay, I'm from Ireland. I was born in Dublin.
So I was in Limerick the first time ever I left Sicily, right? So it was like a shock, and I was 13, so I was in my hormonal
So you didn't get to stay
storm.
home when it rained when you were there, I guess, no?
I actually loved the Irish rain. It was so charming.
They say it's very soft.
Yeah,
Soft
it's
Irish
very charming.
rain.
And I will never forget, Maurice, when I arrived, I couldn't understand what they were telling me because their English didn't sound exactly like the one I was listening to in the audiobooks.
You should see my wife with my family. She just stares at them, and then after a while they realize, you don't know what I'm saying, do you? And she said, no, I didn't understand. I'm just smiling.
It was terrible. I remember I arrived and I went to a pub to eat something. I was alone. I didn't know anybody, right? And the guy's like, hi today. I was like, huh? How are you today? I'm like, huh? how are you today? I'm like, oh, that's what you said. Okay, it was fun. But the first time that I was really shocked was when the same evening when I arrived, I was at this pub and there was a Korean guy playing billiard. And I was like, okay, let me go and play with him. But I realized, he's Korean. How are we going to understand each other? And then I speak English and he speaks back English to me. And I will never forget. I remember the way he was dressed, the way I was dressed. Like for the first time in my life, I actually can speak to somebody which is not Italian. I was really impressed.
Wow. Okay. So that started the Wanderlust, or like as we say, like you wanted to go out, you went to Milan, and that was clearly, I'm going to go and study biotechnology. But were you already as specific as you are now, or in terms of like honing in on tissue, these types of things?
Yeah, kind of. So I wanted to study biology initially, but then in the year 2000, when I went to university, biotech came out for the first time in Italy. And
okay.
it was only in Milano, so I had to go to Milano. And when we started biotech, there was a lot of discussion around stem cells already.
Yeah.
And that was what fascinated me most. So when I started, I realized, stem cells are the future. You know, we are going to build things. We are going to replace things. We're going to regenerate things. And that is really not far from what I do today, right? So it did start back then.
Okay, so you're in Milan. How was that, actually?
It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I didn't really do the classical Milano student life because we didn't have money, and I just wanted to finish studies. So I was studying exams, studying exams, and I also had some fun there, but it was not La La Land. I mean, I was really focused on finishing, and that's why I finished sharp on time. And in July 2025, I decided to start my PhD. So I was really not even
2005.
5 years. 2005.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, what did I say? 25?
2025.
Yeah, that's
But,
now.
Okay.
2005. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was really, I think one of my biggest aims was to make sure that I would be independent and I would not charge all my weights of studying and living to my parents' shoulders. So I wanted to be quick. And I did it. So if you want to be quick at studying, you don't have a lot of time to party. That's what it is. So I partied during my PhD.
Okay.
Because I had a salary.
Well, let's get to the good stuff. Okay. And that was the ETH.
Correct.
Why the ETH? I mean, when I think of biology, and I mean, look, we are sponsors of the ETH, and I love the ETH, but I wouldn't think, I mean, engineering, sure, but if I think of biology, it's not the first thing to jump to my mind. So how did that happen?
Now, do you want to have the real answer or the sophisticated answer?
The real one.
Okay. So I was at home in Milano looking for a PhD position.
Uh-huh.
And I dropped the idea of doing the PhD in Milano because the salary was way too little and I couldn't afford to stay. So I was Yahooing. There was no Google. I was Yahooing. Is
that a verb?
Yes, I guess back then.
Okay, all right.
I was not Googling, but Yahooing.
Fair.
The best paid PhDs in the world, and there was a forum saying that Switzerland is like the perfect place because it's the best universities in the world, and there is a lot of free stuff for students, and the community is great. And I was like, okay, but I'm in Milano. I mean, Zurich is like 3 hours away, so let's try. So I sent the CV, I think, to all possible universities in the country, including the French part and the Italian part, and I got 2 interviews, one in Basel and one in Zurich at the ETH. And now you ask me why ETH. So when I went to Basel, it was pouring rain, and it was freezing cold. And there was a lot of people that spoke French and German, and I was lost. I was like, I don't understand any of these 2 languages. And then I came for an interview at the ETH, Hunk. And it was a beautiful sunny day in December with a meter of snow, and I saw the kids sledging on the hills, and I'm like, I think I know what I want to be.
It's funny that Basel has better weather than Zurich typically.
Not in my experience.
No. That N of 1 That one day. Okay.
So I chose ETH also because my professor back then was just about to like hire the entire lab. So it was an amazing crowd of international brains coming all together to the same lab. And I thought it was super fun. So
okay. And the focus there was?
Stem cells.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I was working with embryonic stem cells. So yeah, I never really changed topic. I was always with stem cells, different parts of the body, different, molecular mechanism to be studied, but it was always stem cells. I always loved that topic.
So PhD, partying, how was the experience in Zurich after, seeing the sunny day and the snow? ETH and your experience doing your PhD here. I mean, what was that like?
It was extremely positive. I met incredible people. They came to Switzerland just like me. So we were all expats, and it was an incredible crowd of brilliant minds all around the same age. I found ETH to be a very good place to actually flourish as a scientist, and there is a lot of freedom. There is enough financing to actually try different things and do your research without this, stress of having to raise the fund or finding the money to do your research. And the international collaborations were really interesting. So my lab, for example, had a collaboration with Shiseido in Japan. Yep. So, it was so much more than what I saw in Milano, and it was a community again. So I felt part of something again. And yeah, I mean, it was probably the best time of my life, I have to say, so far.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was free, I had money, I had friends, and I was doing exactly what I loved doing, being at the bench, and I was having a lot of fun, yeah.
So when did you start to flirt with the idea of a company, and I mean, I know, well, maybe it's as a scientist, you don't necessarily, you focus on the science and you really, this is the purity of it all. But when you then have to think about how do these things actually get done, a lot of other factors are involved, and those they don't always suit scientists very well.
Yeah, I know.
So the bench, I love the bench, I want to stay on the bench and let somebody else figure out how to make the rest work, as opposed to doing this awfully hard job of saying, okay, I love the science, but I want to do the awfully hard work as well. So when did that start?
Yeah, look, I mean, after my PhD, I continued as a postdoc at the University of Zurich. And during the postdoc time, I was involved in raising money because we had to go for a grant, right? The classical grants in academia.
Yes.
And that was the first time, because at the ETH, I didn't have the need to do that. So when I was at the university, I was for the first time confronted with the fact that we had to raise some money. We had to get some money. And already getting out of the bench and organizing the writing and Googling and finding information, finding partners, no more Yahooing. And it was a collaborative grant, so I need to select partners, meet partners, interview partners. I mean, I had to get out of my comfort zone. I had to get out of the bench and get off my headphone, right? So, and I started realizing that I actually liked it. Like I like more than the bench. I didn't know that there was something else I would like beyond the bench. And then we got the money.
So there was no economics book in grandma's drawer.
No.
But obviously,
unfortunately, no. Maybe I would have used that up now. No, but I managed. I mean, it was a team effort, me and my professor and a few others in the lab. But we got this big amount of money, and the money was serving one specific purpose, which was doing translational medicine now, translational research, taking these skin grafts that we were testing in the lab, like every scientist does, to people. And, that takes you to another level of responsibility. We are doing something for people. Yeah. And it just changed the way I looked at everything. And it gave me this sense of accountability as well. Like, okay, I got to do something now. And when the first patients were grafted and at the Kishpi here in Switzerland, in Zurich, and the results were good, again, that sense of responsibility hit me strong in the face. Like, okay, but now what? You cannot just drop it now and go to the US and play some more stem cells, Now you have to actually bring it forward. I really felt it like it's my responsibility.
And what kind of patients were they?
children with either burns or big scars or giant nevis to be removed.
Okay. Yeah, I can see how that would probably hit pretty hard.
It's a like a cold shower of reality. It's like you're not playing with your nice science project and you want to publish something. This is like real life, right? It's like, okay, there is a patient here which has a problem, and I'm doing something for this patient and it works. I cannot leave. I cannot go anywhere now. I mean, now this product has to go to market so everybody can access it, right? So it was not something I studied and thought and dreamed about and consulted. I just went like, okay, company, that's it. That's decision made.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest things I hear from scientists is that the work that they do is, first of all, if you're in academia and you don't have the money to make it reality, and so it takes on time scale super long to see any kind of result.
Exactly.
And then that's usually fused together with 10 other different streams of research to ultimately arrive at something which in the distant future, and then they say, if I go to industry, it's going to be even faster. I'll realize, that's what a lot of people who switch from academia into industry say, I wanted to affect change. But they still don't get to see it. And then when they run it through a trial, and finally they might say, maybe in 5 or 10 years, I'll see an outcome.
Yeah.
Whereas you saw it like graft on person, and within a few weeks,
Yeah, basically.
If it works.
It's an interesting approach because it's skin. It's our outside organ. You don't have to do any special tests to actually realize whether it works or not. You simply use your eyes.
You'll see it.
And the first and the second and the third. And I thought, hey, I mean, this works. So let's go.
And how were the first results?
The first results have been, we have done 10 patients with a 5-year follow-up for a safety trial. So it's a long way.
Is that really long? I mean, you would kind of, as you just said, like skin, it's going to react pretty quickly if it's not working.
Yeah, but it's safety, right? So you have to show that there is nothing popping out later on, that there is no tumors arising or whatever, exfoliations or whatever things. So there is like a panel of things that you need to check over time.
Okay.
So the phase 1 was 5 years. But the patients were recruited between 2014 and 2016.
Yeah.
And Cutiss was born in 2017. So we kind of waited until the first phase was completed. We knew, okay, it looks good, it's promising. So now let's build the company.
Okay.
So the company was not built, with a cold jump in the dark. I mean, we had pretty solid data already.
Okay. So for all the people out there that are, maybe they want to go on this entrepreneurial journey, how does let's say the non-science part work? Who do you talk to, or how do you end up? First of all, you had De Novo was the name.
De Novo Skin.
Exactly. That was the first project, right? When you were still in the Kishpi.
Yeah.
Right? And then Cutiss was born in 2017.
Yeah.
How does that transition work from this post-grad, and then all of a sudden you're a co-founder and CEO of a company? and people think, oh,
easy.
Just like that. We had good data, so we started a company.
Look, I mean, I didn't know how to do it, right? So I was, again, going back to the Googling, I was literally Googling business plan template. I had no idea where to start. And I tried to submit for the venture competition as a business idea, and I failed. And I said, okay, I need help. And that's where I knocked at the door of CTI, which is now InnoSwiss, Commission for Technology of Innovation back then. And I got my business coach. And he kind of became my business father in a way, because he really didn't give up. He spent days and nights with me trying to dissect the story and try to understand how this could work and what would be the regulatory path. Because let's not forget, what we are doing is rather new. There is no big expert here in tissue engineering, right? I mean, it's like nobody has ever done the all way through, right? So he tried his best. And together we kind of designed the first business plan, together also with my professor at the university. We try all to bring a piece. And then I, again, applied for the venture competition, but this time the business plan competition. And we got first prize. We were officially the best business plan in the competition. And I was like, okay, that maybe works.
So what was the difference? Do you think? What was the difference between the first time and the second time?
We had we had all the pieces of the blocks in. So we had IP, regulatory, reimbursement, market access, and all these things were missing in the business idea. The business idea was like, I have skin, I'll sell it, I'll make money, right? That's it.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to you. But the business plan was really, I think when I go back, it was really a very good first piece of work. And we got the first prize. And then I thought, okay, that's really a good sign, that we have something solid. Yeah. And I continued asking for more help. So I had a lot of, my first business father introduced me to other people, in other sectors of the pieces of the regulatory or the IP or the reimbursement. And so he started creating this network around myself. And I realized that that's key. Like, I need people that help me because I don't know. And I felt like a sponge, Maurice, really. For a few years, I was like, I'm just a sponge. I'm just going to absorb as much as I can and read as much as I can, and I'll do my best. And that was my biggest luck, realizing my limits. Like, I don't know. So whoever knows, please tell me. And people kind of felt that like I really needed help. And it was really cool. And that's why also when I entered in the Wies Zurich, I also tried to use those years as best as I could, like taking all possible classes, doing all possible, because it's important to realize that when you're out of your comfort zone, the only thing you can do is trying to get back to a certain level of comfort. But it takes time and efforts, and and that's what I just did.
So
continue being
now?
kind of a nerd.
You're comfortable now?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not at all.
Ever,
but I'm definitely more comfortable than 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But you're never, when you are the CEO of a startup, you're never in a comfort zone, never. It's always challenging. Every single day, there is something new to fix or something new to do or something new to learn. And that's why it's fun, actually. So I don't want to be in a comfort zone.
Agreed. So, what I'm hearing is that you would advise people to really go out and seek mentors or seek people who have been there, done it before you. How's that look? Do you just email a bunch of people? Do you start making phone calls? Just because I think that today I passed on my contact detail to somebody the other day who then wrote to our hello@headcount address and said, I'm a bit afraid to call you. Could you please, send me a calendar invitation? And I was thinking like, wow. And this is not a junior person. It was somebody reasonably senior. And I just thought like, this is a very strange way to approach it. But we see that a lot where people they don't pick up the phone, but they'll answer your WhatsApp. What do you think about like the direct approach on people, or what would you advise people to do out there
the society is also changing. So 8 years ago, it was not the same as today. Right. So I don't have the magic recipe here. But when I started, I think going back to your first question about my cultural heritage, I just I was talking to anybody, like anybody that was in the room was hearing my pitch, right? And doesn't matter if you didn't want to listen to me, I'll still tell you. You will still be bothered by me. So I think I was just very bold in that sense. Like, I know what I want and I need to get something. I need to find it. And if I would approach you, for example, you would say, sorry, I'm not very much interested in this. Okay, do you know somebody else? Can you think of somebody else you can pass me on? So I was really like pushy like that, And you would be surprised how many people actually are willing to help.
Yeah.
But you have to go ask. They're not looking for people to be helped. So either you raise your voice and say, hey, guys, I need help. Who is volunteering? Otherwise, people have their business. They have their agendas. They have their struggles and troubles. And I just felt like I'm just going to go and elbow everything out and find a way. And some people thought I was crazy. I think some people still today call me the crazy skin lady. But I got what I wanted. So my advice is, if you know what you want, just don't be shy. The worst that can happen is somebody says, sorry, don't bother me anymore. And I just say, sorry, you're welcome, no worries. But just don't be shy. Pick up the phone and call and write and text. And, it's just like we always forget that we are community animals. We all like to help each other. We just lost in our daily routine and our daily business, and we sometimes think we don't have the time. But actually, it's all about engaging with people. And when you tell your story, you tell it right, and they feel that you really care, people open up and say, okay, come on, how can I help you? And you just have to forget about schemes. Just be yourself and just pass the message. And those that don't want to hear it, they don't want to hear it. I mean,
Right.
fair enough. But talk. I mean,
Okay.
I am kind of a stalker from time to time.
Should we be worried? All right. So, Cutiss.
Yeah.
So, what does Cutiss do?
We are growing human skin on demand.
How fast? How fast does that go on demand?
So we take a tiny little piece of skin from the patient. It's as tiny as a post stamp. And then this post stamp is shipped to our facilities in Schlieren, our GMP facilities, which stands for Good Manufacturing Practice.
Yes.
And we isolate the stem cells from this little piece of skin. And then we expand the cells. And we have a proprietary technology to tell the cells how to build skin again. So we do bioengineering of skin tissue. And then the skin tissue is going back to the patient. So it's a personalized medicine. That's why on demand. And the demand can be different. So one patient may need 2 grafts, another one may need 40. So we need to be ready to produce on demand because skin is gigantic, right? So
yeah,
it's 1.7 square meter per person in average.
The biggest organ, right?
Yeah, it's the biggest organ.
It's so cool. It's so cool. I mean, it's so cool. It's like, and this works.
So far, yes. We have shown long-term safety and long-term efficacy in burns, in plastic and reconstructive indications. So it can be used for massive casualties like burns and trauma, all the way up to one day removing tattoos. I mean, it's skin. It's simply skin. So you can use it for many indications. Don't look at me like that.
No, I since I first heard about your company and what you do, I mean, I just think it's so cool. And I mean, I think the kids part also gets me quite a bit as well. Like it's, nobody wants to have that life where, a burn, first of all, can be very detrimental health-wise, but also how you appear and all these types of things. And it's also life-saving. How long does it take you to grow?
It's about 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay. And normally patients are kind of kept covered, or there's some sort of sustaining, I don't know, gel or plastic, or what are they?
There's a few things. So we are treating really large burns. If a patient has a tiny little superficial burn somewhere, there is other things. I mean, it's not for de novo skin, right? De novo skin is really meant to those which have severe, large burns. And those patients are not in an easy condition. So they are not in and out of the hospital within a couple of weeks.
Right.
They are staying and they are stabilized and they're treated with different things. And then you have a lot of temporary dressings. They can be used from allografts or polymers or fish skin or sheep stomachs or amniotic membranes. I mean, there is a lot of products that can be used. And then at one point when the patient is stable, they start the treatment. And the treatment today is autografting, which means skin is harvested from somewhere with a machine that looks like the one you use for slicing the cheese. And then you take this piece of skin, which is super thin, and you put it into a machine that looks like the one that makes the tagliatelle, the nonna papera thing. And then you stretch it up and then you put it on wounds.
Yeah.
And what we offer now is something which is safe, works better than the autografting in terms of scar quality, and can be produced a quantity. So there is no need to actually harvest healthy skin in large quantity, because the healthy skin you're harvesting is actually healthy skin that could stay on your body healthy as it was, but needs to be covering your wound. So it's an interesting, we can provide quantity and quality, which is the perfect thing, right? So a lot of skin can be produced and it's of much better quality than what the autograft can give you. So it's pretty cool.
Again, I'll stop, but I think it's really amazing what you guys are doing.
And if you go beyond burns into the entire world of reconstructions and plastic, their time is out of the formula because the patient is sitting down and agreeing with the surgeon when the procedure should take place. Yeah. So that's why we didn't really invest time now to have a super quick process, but rather a robust and reproducible and flexible process for the market.
Well, if I think about like my super vain side, let's say I'm getting older, got much more wrinkles, and I say, "Hey, Cutiss, can't you just make me new face?" I guess, what is the age of the skin? I mean, if it comes from stem cells, right? I know the body kind of keeps measure of all of its different organs, and obviously things break down after a while and they don't produce as well as they used to. is this like new baby skin, or is this like, 46-year-old Morris old face skin, if I would think about something like that?
As of today, we have grafted about 65 patients.
Yep.
So I don't have enough numbers yet to tell you, statistics on how. So what we see is that after 2-3 years on the patient, the novel skin looks like the healthy skin they have. So we do see a little difference between a 10-year-old and a 65-year-old. But we don't have all the key answers to your question right now. So that's why we're actually doing the space research and everything, because we just don't know enough. And we have now the perfect playground to actually study skin. And again, let's not forget, we are doing tissue engineering. We are not doing organ engineering quite yet.
Right.
So there is appendices to be included, hair are missing, glands are missing. We have to just keep working on it. But hopefully in a few years that we will have many more answers to your questions. As of now, we are really focusing on the clinical meaning of this product.
Okay.
And time will come when we will also be able to unlock some interesting discoveries and maybe rejuvenate as well, skin going forward.
All right. We're looking forward.
So stay tuned.
Okay. I'll be knocking on your door in Schlieren. I want to touch on something you just brought up. Space skin. So why? I mean, why?
Why on earth?
Why? Yeah. Why send a bunch of stuff? Get into that for me, please. I mean, why are we sending skin into space? I mean, I know we send a lot of stuff into space.
Yeah.
But why does skin matter?
I mean, research in space is not something that Cutiss invented, right? So there is launches done purely for that. And there is companies like Space Pharma, which is developing little mini automated laboratories that can fly to the ISS and be plugged in and do the experiment autonomously, right? So it's a business and it's interesting. The way we are using space research is purely as an accelerator of discoveries. So you are actually stressing a biological system by shipping it to the ISS. And you're stressing it in a way you wouldn't be able to stress it on Earth.
Right.
So it's like if you on Earth have 20 leads for a target candidate of whatever thing, and then out of this 20, you got to do 6 months of work to find out the best 2. In space, you find the best one right away because you're stressing the system. So it's just an accelerator of discoveries. And if you think about what Cutiss tries to do, to build the first automated platform to produce tissues, with skin, we have a lot of knowledge, but as I told you, there is more to do. If now I want to do muscle and I want to do mucosa and I want to do cornea and I want to do tendons, I need to know things. And for me, using space is just making me do that faster. So that's the idea about space research associated with what we do. It's not because I'm going crazy. Okay. It's an interesting approach. And 5 or 6 years ago, when I had the idea first, it was way too expensive. I mean, you couldn't launch to the ISS. It was nowadays. I mean, it's really another level. I mean, it's affordable, so you can literally launch and get your data, and you have not really spent that much. So it's booming. It's pretty it's pretty cool.
And is there I know that we have to have hypotheses in science, right? But oftentimes we make a hypothesis and then something else completely comes out. Is that the case here? Is it just, okay, let's send it up. We kind of guessing what might happen, but it's really more interpreting data that comes back?
Yeah, that's correct, actually. So we had an idea based on very old papers done in the 70s on some sort of microgravity boxes. And we know that skin in space ages faster and doesn't heal well. So we thought, okay, in astronauts. Okay. So we thought something will come out. But we thought maybe the difference will not be relevant, enough to say, okay, we found out something. And I cannot say much. Data will come out soon, right. But it is pretty relevant what we found. So it's pretty interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Switching gears. This sounds all very nice.
Thank you.
And the work is amazing, and launching skin in space, and everything's really wonderful. But there's a lot of hard things. 8 years now. The company's 8 years old. Not to mention the work that came before. Yeah. Let's not discount that part. What's the hardest part for you?
It's almost like the same challenges you have as a parent. You always have the different challenges at every age. When kids are born, it's like, oh, it's so hard. And then they grow up, and it's not like it's getting better. The challenge is just different. So it's never easy. You always need to be extremely focused and you always need to be very resilient because shit happens all the time. So and it's always hard, and you hear a lot of things, and everybody knows better than you, and everybody knows where, like what you should do and what you should not do. And as a matter of fact, I, as of today, haven't found a textbook which I can follow. So it's always very challenging to take the right decision, to do the right steps, because all that matters in our world is to keep moving and keep creating value, and it's just a constant fight with everything, with regulatory, with hiring, firing, finding money, building administrative structures. It's just a big pile of work. But one has to go step by step. And again, we have to remember why we're doing this, right? We are doing this because we have a solution for people that need it. So every hurdle, it's just one step, closer to get to that point. So I would never be able to have the same passion and resilience and commitment to a project which wouldn't be that close to my heart, right? So I wouldn't be able to be the very good CEO of a company selling coffee. It wouldn't work. So I really think there's a strong motivation in what we do. And my team feels that motivation as well, which is really, really good. So we are all very much committed to what we do. And every new struggle, it's just, okay, one more. But it takes a lot of efforts, a lot. I mean, shoulders need to be really large.
If you don't mind me asking, was there a low point for you where you were like, oh, come on?
Like, you mean today?
Okay, I know the podcast is difficult, but I didn't know it's that bad. I mean, okay, so I mean, I run a business as well, and I'm 13 years in at this point, and there were times when it really sails and things seem to just go right, and then there's times where it just piles up and it's like, this went wrong, and you're like, okay, I can manage. And then all of a sudden you will come in the next day and bam, there's something else, and then there's something else, and then there's something. And sometimes I go home and I'm like, why am I continuing?
Why am I doing
exactly. And the stress level, and I could just get a job somewhere, and then somebody else would worry about everything else, and I'd just get a paycheck and do what they asked me to do.
Yeah.
And I think that you've got an amazing purpose. I mean, that's obviously a big driver.
Yeah.
But was there ever, and you don't have to get into specifics, but is there anything, or was there a time when you were just like, oh man, this is not going to work, or
no,
I'm going to fail?
This is all the time, Maurice. I mean, it's, and I'm very, as you can see maybe by now, very emotional person, and I'm very much in many things. So when I'm happy, I scream, and when I'm frustrated, I scream. Right? So my neighbors know that. So so basically, it's a roller coaster. There is days where I'm really pissed, and I could literally just punch the wall and hurt my hand, right? And I don't do that because it's not healthy, but I really feel like really, yeah. I mean, it's like, why on earth is this happening all together? Like, why is the universe so much against me? What am I doing so wrong? And maybe the day after is like the best day ever, and I am jumping, and I go buy champagne and sushi, and I bring stuff at home, and then my kids see me that way, and they're like, "Mom, did you find money?" I'm like, "No," because every time I'm pissed, they are so used to see me coming home like, "Yeah, that's so cool, let's go." Because if I'm happy, I come home and everybody knows, right? So so it's just always a lot. It's either very frustrating to the point where I really, I'm pissed to the extremes, and I don't know even why on earth I decided to start this thing.
Yeah.
And then the day after, honestly speaking, I know it's an exaggeration, I feel like the queen of the world. I'm like, I am the best human being on this planet. That's how I talk to myself when I'm happy. I look at the window like, I really rock. Like, I am the best. Yeah. But the day after, I suck. So it's just like a roller coaster. But you need to be very ready for that roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you stay resilient? Is there escape valves besides champagne and sushi? I mean, or yelling, neighbors, or
yelling helps a lot, by the way. Yeah, I mean, I think I've said that a couple of times. It's really the family. Like, I have home two little kids, which I brought to life.
How old are your kids?
12 and 7.
Okay.
And they see me, they rely on me. I want to be a good model for them because this world is turning crazy, and they need to see that people can actually be, solid despite what goes around. And to me, that's as big as a responsibility as being the CEO of Cutiss. It's 50-50, right? So I have to switch off and just be a mom. And I do that as many times as needed and as many times as I need it too.
Yeah.
It's not just for them. I mean, it's something which I need to do as well for my own mental health. Like, okay, today we go to the park and we just talk about stupid stuff. But what is also important is that my kids know what I'm doing. So when I'm working, they're so cute. They come and say, "Mom, I'll let you work. It's okay. Talk to you later," because they know what I'm doing, right? And and I think I feel like rewarded for that and blessed. So that calms me down. I'm like, okay, I'm doing a good job. I'm not feeling guilty at any level, which is also keeping me stable in that sense. Because I think most of the problems with burnout and depression stuff come when you think you're not doing right. Like I'm failing. I'm not feeling confident with myself anymore. And I try to keep up my confidence high to the point that I say, okay, I think I'm doing the best I'm doing, and I cannot do better than that. So I'm happy. Somebody else could do better, 100%. But that's what I can do, and I'm okay with that. So it's like self appreciation to the point that I say, well, I think I'm okay. And the kids help because I can switch off and on. I mean, without kids by now. Without a family behind me by now, I would probably be in a burnout because you would just work 100%. We are living in a society where you don't have much time for friends. And if you run a startup, you don't have time for anything. And I think if you want to build a company, you should also build a family. That's my recommendation.
Okay. We could argue that just, sometimes, but same thing. You go from work and everything's on fire, and then you go home and that's actually also on fire in some ways. Right? Yeah.
50-50, yes.
And then sometimes, as you say, sometimes amazing, and this is also amazing, and everything's running really well. Yeah. So, I get it. How did you put any kind of rules for yourself in place? Like I did, I made a deal with my wife when the second child was born that I would never miss dinner when possible, right? Of course, if there's something booked and I said, okay, we eat, and if I need to work after, I work after, but I eat with the family, and then I put the kids to bed, and then if I need to, I go work. That was kind of the rule, and we still have that to this day. Is there anything you did like that? No,
I didn't really write a rule because I don't want to, promise things I cannot keep up with, but I definitely with myself made a very strong decision, like I'm going to be there. So I am not going to delegate my mother's tasks to other people. So I still take my kids to doctors. I do 99% of the doctor appointments of my kids. I do the Elternabends, the discussion. I do 100% of those. I go to all possible theater shows, ballet shows, and anything, because I have to be there too. Yes. I cannot just say, send me a video, I will watch later. No, I need to be there. Why? Because it is known that the kids actually feel that. If you are sitting there watching them jumping on the theater, they act differently, they will perform differently, they will feel satisfied. And if you're not there, you're just coming home later and say, how was it? Was it good? I'm so proud of you. It's not the same. Yeah. So that is the promise I did with myself. Like I will try my best, right? I've missed a few, but honestly, I think as of today, I'm at 99%. So I've been there all the time. So when you go to school, they know me. Everybody knows me. So people say, how can you do that? I just put it in my agenda, and if I need to go talk to the school, that's as fixed as an investor meeting. I cannot change it. So it is what it is.
I agree.
So that I try. With the dinners and the lunches is complex, but
okay, fair enough.
Weekend we are together all the time, so that's good.
Okay, I want to jump to something I read. You said in a different interview, which was about hiring a CEO, and I'm very interested in hiring. A COO. I said CEO. Okay. Sorry.
Do you know something I don't know?
COO. And that was fairly early on? Because I think I mentioned to you,
2019.
Okay. Why and what did you look for when you looked for that person?
Structure. Because I am the CEO, I need to find raise, and I have the vision, and I need to go left and right, and I need to find people to engage, and networking and everything. But somebody should actually put structure when you want to build a product for people, and a medicinal product, right? So I needed somebody that would literally just build the company for real, because we are manufacturing human skin on demand, right? So somebody has to have the structure and the capacity and the expertise to actually run the company with the highest quality and safety standards. And that was a must for me because of the nature of our business, right? So what I was looking for was somebody that would join culturally, the why we do this, and have a strong motivation to do it long term.
Yeah.
And somebody which really knew what to do without having to spend 3 years being trained, because I didn't have the time. And this person, I mean, if I could turn back time, I would just try to hire her even before the company was created. I mean, it would have probably saved a lot of time, but we did what we could. But to me, the CEO is really giving the structure. I mean, to me, at least, in our case, it was like giving the solid fundament to say, okay, now we can build a company for real and produce. So I would have never managed that. Me, I cannot, it's too complex, and I don't have the right expertise. I've never produced tissues for people at scale for global outreach. I mean, how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
What's
She's a masterpiece in our company.
And did you use that as a blueprint for hiring other people, or do you have a philosophy for hiring? Do you have one?
Philosophy for hiring, I don't know. I've tried to develop some sort of culture in the company, of course, and now the company is 50 plus people. So it's very hard to kind of keep, the culture all the time, because it's easier when you have 10 people and then everybody's around and we all go for pizzas and everything. And now there is, it's an evolution. But clearly, your executives are going to, to bring that culture along. And if they engage your culture, they will also hire people which engage that culture. So it's almost like a ripple effect, right? So it's very important to choose your executives extremely well. And when we hire, we look for people which have desire to learn. Like, we have to see in their eyes, like they want to learn what's going on, and they want to see and do and experience. Because again, in our sector, there is not much expertise available. So whoever joins Cutiss has to learn anyways. Even if they spend 10 years in Novartis, they still have to learn tons of things, right? So we try to look for the fire and for a cultural fit. So some people are excellent in their profiles. They have the perfect skills, the perfect years of experience, the perfect qualifications, but they're just clearly not a fit to the way we operate, which is Cutiss way. I mean, I don't know if there is better or worse. It's just our way. So if you fit, you love working at Cutiss, and if you don't fit, you hate working at Cutiss.
So you weed yourself out pretty quickly. I mean,
and we have people on board now which really started 7.5 years ago out of 8, right? So we have people that have worked for us for many, many years, and they still have the same fire. And others which stayed a year or two and then left because, it was not what they would do for life. And that's totally fair, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And what do you think about, culture versus expertise? And sometimes you have to sacrifice one for the other.
Yeah. If you have a very good cultural fit and the fire to learn, the expertise can be built relatively quickly, because my executive is like the holy Bible of expertise in tissue engineering. The two of them have done tremendous, so they know a lot. So if you can learn from them, the expertise can be built extremely fast. But sometimes for certain jobs where you have to, be compliant to regulatory, quality and stuff, you need to have a basic of expertise otherwise it's going to be extremely hard. And we don't really have that much time for training, right? I mean, you start and you are part of a team and you put your hands on and that's it, right? So now that we are growing, we are getting closer to market, this expertise part is becoming more relevant than at the beginning. Yeah.
Okay. So walk us through the future So what's coming? What can we expect to hear from Cutiss in the coming years?
So we are, as always, fundraising. We are now in phase 3 trials, which is the last clinical trial before we can try and get an authorization for market. So we are running clinical trials in 8 countries in Europe, which is an interesting challenge. We are building machines, and there will be some nice news coming on Monday for that. These machines are probably really the first machines ever produced that can do tissues on demand. So we are starting with skin, clearly. But there is a platform story which I am and we are pushing very hard to build. So in the future, because that was your question, I really think that Cutiss could be like the first phone, like the first platform to do tissues and open up a gigantic opportunity for helping people regenerate body parts. That's how I really see the future. So it's an interesting story because it's very strong biological component in the program, but a super strong tech component as well. So this tech bio story is exactly where we belong now. So it's technology at the service of biology. And it's really, really refreshing because now we have machines that can do everything faster, and AI will jump in to do everything much more controlled, and space research will give you results faster, and things will move much faster than they used to move. So I think this current way of developing drugs and therapies, which takes decades and billions of money, will soon become the past, and we are going to have very efficient ways to move forward. So I think the future is bright for medicine, but it takes a bit of guts and a bit of trust to actually invest in companies like mine, which are doing something nobody has done before. So, but we are strong believers that the future is in regeneration, and we push for that.
Okay. I mean, how far away do you think it is to produce a working implantable kidney, for example?
There is some work on kidney already, liver, blood vessels, cornea, muscle. So it's coming up. It's coming up. The difficulty is that most of these companies start with the bio or with the tech, and they have difficulties combining the things. And one of the major reasons is that usually what they work with is something smaller than skin. So they say, okay, we'll scale up later. We'll see later. And we kind of got this advantage starting early with machines because we're doing skin. It's like, how are we going to produce the carpets that we need to produce?
Yeah.
So we kind of started with those machines very early on. And now we are probably one of the first with something like that. So, but it's coming. There is much more coming. I think it's the most interesting field right now. And when you look at projections in the advanced therapy, you have gene, cell, and tissue therapies.
Yes.
Tissue therapies are the part of the advanced therapy which are projected to grow the fastest and be the highest in return on investment. So I think we are surfing the right wave.
Oh, excellent. So if you're out there and you're watching and you've got a bunch of money,
come to me.
Exactly. Daniela, before we wrap up, we have a closing tradition, and that's our mentor minute. Okay, so you don't have to speak for a minute. It can be shorter, it can be longer. But it's really about advice you would give to, as you knocked on the door of InnoSwiss and you had that first business father, I think was the term you used.
Yes, correct.
If you now think of putting your shoes in of a business mother, I mean, and somebody maybe in your shoes or just graduating or early in career, and what's the best piece of advice you would pass on to them?
I have many pieces of advice. So one would really be stay curious. I mean, I know that that's not my quote, it's Steve Jobs' quote, but honestly, things are moving fast. So don't sit down on your project and try to stick to it too strong. Try to be very actual in what and try to and see what the market wants. Talk to you. I know it's like, but the market is so far. No, but you have to develop a product which people actually like and need and want. So talk to the market, try to get the best out of your products, and at one point get it out. Don't wait for 20 years before you get something out. And try to stay humble. So stay creative, stay hungry, but stay humble, because again, you don't know everything. So get help. That's what I said before. And don't be shy in getting help. And find a way to keep resilient. Everybody has a different way, but just find a way day one if you want to create a company to stay sane, because things will move so fast and you will be in trouble if you don't have that at the beginning. So find the right people to help you. Stay creative, stay hungry, read, update yourself, and try to bring to market a product which the market actually needs. And try to find a way to stay healthy and sane with yourself, because if you lose your mind, the company goes down. So it has to be a combination of things. But so I don't think I've said anything new. People can find that on books, I guess. But it is a reality. I mean, you need to have a few ingredients in the recipe. It's not a long list, but a few ingredients in the recipe to make sure that the cake will actually come out in one piece from the oven. Yeah.
I think it's one thing to read it in a book, but when you've lived it, then I had the realization. You read it and then it happens to you, and then you actually understand it.
Yeah.
It's one thing to see it and then, oh that's what they meant.
But, the part of staying creative and actual really gives you that fire, because then you move on and you take decisions. And because if you lose that part and you are just trying to keep safe and try to keep healthy and try to please the market, everything has to be together. Because if you lose that sparkle of the fast decision and feeling the guts and going with your instinct, you lose. I mean, it's a huge piece of the recipe you cannot drop just to keep safe and move conservatively, step by step. So again, a few ingredients. That's it.
Cool. Hey, well, definitely not conservative what you guys are doing, and I find it so amazing. I mean, I'm so impressed, and really, it's incredible stuff. And if it works and comes to market, I think you guys are going to be a huge success, and it'll all be worth it. And then there's going to be even more to do.
Yeah,
but
lots to do.
It's great. So congratulations, really, on everything you've managed so far. And a big thank you for joining today.
My pleasure.
Is there anything that people out there should be doing to learn more about you? What's your website? Where can people find out more info about Cutiss as a company?
So the website is the classical, www.cutiss.com, and you go to our YouTube channel. There is a few nice, interesting movies you can watch and clips. And we use LinkedIn a lot. So if you want to be updated, like live with what happens, just follow me or Cutiss or both on LinkedIn. That's the best way to get the latest news.
So that's Cutiss, two S's,
correct,
right?
It's Latin. Cutiss.
Skin, something with skin.
Skin in Latin, yes.
Ah, okay. Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. It's been great. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Merci.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Leadership Lab, where we dissect life science success stories. If you enjoyed that, please check us out and follow on Spotify under Leadership Lab. If you don't want to miss any episodes, be sure to follow Headcount on LinkedIn or subscribe to the Headcount YouTube channel. And as always, we thank Headcount for making this possible. If you don't want to miss out on any of the latest job opportunities in the life sciences industry, please check out the newest roles at headcount.ch.